The Oracle Network.
Oh shit, Rio de Janeiro is the top one, actually, in Brazil.
Get out.
Yeah.
So I should write down that?
Yeah.
Spell it, please.
R-I-O space
Too many vowels.
D-E space
More vowels.
J-A-N-E-I
O, U, and sometimes Y.
Oh my god, you fucked her up. G-I-R-O.
Hello.
Hey guys, welcome. I'm Abby.
And I'm Shauna.
And this is Anxious.
And Afraid.
The podcast.
Where we talk about anxiety-inducing things.
Yep, we're really good at it. And we're
really good at it.
Really bad at breathing.
Yes.
When
indeed.
we're doing it. Welcome. If it's your first time, welcome back. If it's not.
If it's your first time, welcome back.
No, welcome if it's your first time. Welcome back if
This
it's
is our
not.
second episode, you guys, and we're hungry. We're waiting for some food.
Oh yeah, this is the second one we've recorded today, and food's on the way.
Yeah.
But
Thanks for listening.
thanks for tuning in. We're
Yes.
excited to tell you another story, but before we do that, we like to talk about something that made us anxious or afraid this week.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask you, Abby, what made you anxious or afraid this week?
Okay, I have like a couple things, stupid things.
Okay.
So I had this weird universe moment happen,
Ooh.
and it felt like more of a big deal at the time, but now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, I'm going to tell the story, and it's probably going to be one of those you had to be there things. But Michael was there for it.
He knows.
Okay. So I was listening to some music, and I either listened to very old music or very new music. Not a lot of middle ground for me. And I was listening to Whitney Houston.
Classic.
As you do. And I was listening to I Run to You. And every time I heard that song, I Run to You, I would think, why does this song remind me of Reflection from Mulan? You know, that
Yes.
that iconic song from the movie,
love that song.
Disney movie Mulan, right?
Yes.
Christina Aguilera made her famous.
Yes.
I don't know if you've ever noticed the similarities between the two, but it would bother me every time I would listen to I Run to You. I'm like, why does this song sound so much like that other song?
That's funny.
And maybe it doesn't. And they're two different songs. Maybe it's just me being crazy. And so I had to look it up finally. And this has been bothering me for a long time.
Like years and years.
Yeah, and I just I could have Googled it the whole time, never did. And so I finally looked it up, and I was like, I just looked up the two song titles together because I wanted to see if anyone else had ever made that
connection
or had that thought. And that didn't come up. No one had that connection or thought. But weirdly, this was so weird. I researched, this article popped up, a couple articles popped up, and it was talking about Christina Aguilera auditioning to get that part for that song for Mulan.
Uh-huh.
And the song she auditioned with
was
Run to You.
Weird.
Right? By Whitney Houston.
Weird.
Isn't that weird?
And you just always connected those two random songs.
Yeah.
Weird.
So I had to tell you about that.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
I don't know what it means.
It's just funny.
That happened. And also, I've just been injuring myself a lot lately. Had that burn. And also, I don't know if you saw me talking in the chat at work about Roscoe pulling me down.
Oh my gosh, let your feet lift up the ground.
Yeah,
Roscoe
turned me into a human kite at the park.
No.
And I've never been ripped so hard.
Oh my god.
I didn't know he was capable of this, and so now I know better. But a lady called us over. She wanted to meet us, and that's all Roscoe needed.
And he bolted.
And that dog is strong. And I felt my feet leave the ground, and I fell so fucking hard. And falling when you're in front of people, so many people. I was so embarrassed.
That sucks.
And I popped up so fast because I was like, I'm fine. I tripped, and she's like, no, he pulled you down. I'm like, yeah, thanks for pointing that out. I'm now so mortified. And her dog was like a perfect behaved angel.
my
And
gosh,
it was a border
hilarious.
collie, super smart. And mine's a wild beast. And so that was mortifying. And falling when you're 30 is very different than falling when you're 20.
Absolutely.
I haven't fallen in a really long time.
And that's with force.
With force. I felt like I got hit by a truck. My knee is all bruised.
Oh no, Roscoe.
I know. So we have things to work on. We're like back
Perks of being a dog mom.
back to disciplining. Well, not disciplining, but we're trying to train him more because we kind of slacked off on that, and
I bet it's hard.
and it shows. So
Oh, I'm sorry.
that happened to me, but I'm fine. But Shauna, Shauna,
Oh no, I'm scared.
Shauna, do you want to talk about something? It's not really something that made you anxious or afraid this week.
It's gonna make me anxious and afraid for the rest of my life.
Should I do like a?
I have an announcement.
What is it?
Oh my god. I got myself pregnant, guys. Oh no. I'm pregnant. It's still very weird to say
Shauna
it.
is fucking knocked up on purpose.
On purpose.
They tried.
We tried.
This was on purpose,
Right.
which is so great. I mean,
Thanks.
I am so excited.
I mean, it's very exciting. It's all very crazy and weird. As of today, at recording, Saturdays are my days. I am 14 weeks now.
Oh my god.
So I am in my second trimester already.
Ew, stop.
I know. Tell me about it.
Ew, time is flying by so fast.
And
Like,
it's just going to like start really flying by now.
obviously, we've known for a little while and just had
Yeah.
to keep it under wraps, which was hard. I was like constantly afraid I was going to just blurt it out.
Right. Well, maybe some people have caught on the clues because one time I accidentally said like trimester.
Oh, we did make that. Michael and I made that connection. It was before you had even told us you were pregnant.
true,
And you
and I
did this like
slipped it.
verbal slip where you said trimester instead of semester, and we were like, "Haha, pregnant." And then I was like,
And I'm like, shit.
I don't remember which episode that was, but
It was mine with the Bader guy
oh,
who lost his memory or whatever. Yeah. Or like maybe there was like some photos where like some moms who could totally like see me pudging out a little bit, looking like I'm
yeah.
pregnant.
My sister caught on to that too. She's like, me and mom saw it.
I can tell. And I'm like, I'm just chunky. I've always been chunky. But yeah, that's happening in my life. It's very weird.
Everyone send Shauna your congraturitos.
Yeah, thank you. I still don't know what it is.
Yeah, we still don't know the gen.
I
the sex.
do have the results, but I am not looking at it. And my friend knows, and we are waiting to do a cheesy, silly little reveal because I want to milk it.
But it won't have any pyrotechnics or flame
No.
aspects involved.
Biodegradable.
It will
Not
be
starting
a
fires.
very chill event.
Yeah, so that'll be next weekend.
Wow.
And life is crazy.
So how wild is that, you guys? There's going to be a little anxious and afraid baby.
And somebody said, "Oh my gosh, a new co-host." Because I did put like some people, obviously, a lot of listeners follow me on my personal Facebook and all that. So, yep, that's gonna be quite the adventure. I'm due in February, and that's
In February.
That's crazy.
Yep.
You'll hear me talk about it a lot because I'm trying to not think about it because luckily I've been having not so bad pregnancy. Like I haven't thrown up, haven't been nauseous, not to brag.
Our friend Jessie probably secretly hates you because she had the hardest.
She had the longest nausea.
She was so sick all the time, and you've just been like,
I've just
"No,
been
I'm fine."
I'm fine. I'm just sleepy as fuck.
You're like, I'm sleepy. I got some heartburn, but
Right.
that's just like a normal Friday for some of us.
So it's been hard to like I feel pregnant, but then I don't feel pregnant at the same time. It's very
and
weird.
You're like starting to show, but it's not like super obvious yet.
Yeah, it's like the tiniest little bump if I wear like tight clothes.
Right.
Yeah, like I have to keep telling myself, "Oh, I'm
pregnant.
with child."
Yeah, there's something in there.
Yeah,
You have
very
a
weird.
little creature in
I have
there.
a little alien in me.
Yeah. It's so weird.
It's very weird.
And our friend Jessie is being induced tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Did you not know
insane?
that,
I
Michael?
don't think I knew that.
Tomorrow.
Are you? Can you even believe our first friend having a kid?
Yeah.
Ew.
Ew.
Oh, I hope she has like an okay birth. That's so terrifying.
Some people don't understand our usage of the word ew.
Oh, I know. I say it for like everything good and bad.
It started as an ironic thing, and now we say it all the time.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean like,
Actual ew.
yeah. It
It's
just
just
means
like,
like,
what the
ooh.
fuck?
Yeah.
Hell.
Everything's crazy.
Yeah, so that'll be my anxious thing forever.
Welcome
Keep y'all
to
updated.
parenthood.
Thanks. I'm scared.
Someone help me.
I'm gonna be responsible for a human.
Pretty wild.
Anyways,
But we're also very excited for you.
it is very exciting. I am excited. It's gonna be great. So
And
yeah.
can you believe they just let anyone do that?
Right? Like we shouldn't.
Who gave
be
you
allowed.
permission? Yeah. No one gave you permission. You just get to decide to do
I'm
that.
gonna make another one.
I'm gonna make another one.
Yeah. So we'll see how all of that goes.
Yes, it's gonna be great. We'll keep you all updated, and now we can finally talk about it. And
Oh, for sure. Thank goodness.
I'm not in any verbal chains anymore. Because it
Exactly.
went from Jesse then to you, and I'm like, all these things I'm not allowed to talk about.
I know. It's kind of difficult.
But okay,
Okay. I'm ready for a story.
Are you? Is everyone else?
I hope
Because
so.
it's episode 80. Can
80.
you believe we've made it?
Wow.
We're here, episode 80.
That's a lot of episodes
It,
for regular people to do.
yeah, I mean, wow. And for such a momentous episode, I
Ooh.
thought I should throw it back to our true crime roots
Nice.
and do a banger of a historical true crime case.
I knew it was going to be history.
I've been on a history kick.
You're our history girl.
I guess so. And just to make it interesting, I decided to cover a serial killer,
Nice. Okay.
but more specifically, an entire family of serial killers.
Get out.
Because a family that kills together stays together. Am I right?
I guess. Ugh.
Now, this is a fairly famous case. You might have heard of it. But today I will be covering the case of the Bloody Benders.
Bloody Benders. That's not ringing a bell yet.
No? You haven't heard of these dusty fucks?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think so.
It's a pretty crazy story.
Okay. Tell me about it.
Okay. But before I get into it, I'm just going to recognize my main source for today, which was a book I read by my boy, Harold Schechter, and it was titled Little Slaughterhouse on the Prairie.
Nice.
He was the author of the book Hell's Princess, which was my main source material for the Belle Gunnis case,
Oh.
which was that 2-part we
Yeah.
did. It was
Female
like,
serial killer.
yes, it was like episode 45 and 46.
Nice.
If you want to check those out. And I'll probably refer to it later because there's some weird parallels between the Benders and Belle Gunnis. And their stories kind of have a similar vibe.
Okay.
But yeah, I love Harold Schechter. He has tons of great like true crime books if you need an author to check out. Yeah, so this is the second book I'm using of his. He's good.
Nice.
Little Slaughterhouse on the Prairie is also quite the title. And if you're wondering if it has any connection to Little House on the Prairie, you would be correct. This is a weird, there is a weird Laura Ingalls like little cameo down the road that I will mention.
Okay.
And if you don't have any idea what I'm talking about, it's completely understandable. I personally grew up watching that show,
Little House on the Prairie.
Little House on the Prairie.
I'm aware of it, but never watched it.
Yeah, I understand that most children probably didn't.
This is extra old stuff.
Yeah. It's also a book series. It was either that or Saved by the Bell. And, we liked them both. Did you ever watch that, Michael? Little House on the Prairie?
No, I grew up within city limits.
He's like, I had internet and
He's such a modern boy.
I know. They were like watching like sci-fi stuff.
I
You
got
guys are, like,
soft city
opposites.
hands.
City boy. Okay. So if you have seen Little House on the Prairie, the story is, well, not as happy, but similar vibes. Like it's early America, horses and wagons. Mm-hmm. Everyone smells bad.
Sure.
You get it. And I will say right at the top that this is one of those stories that has been told and retold so many times that it's basically a legend at this point. And so there are a lot of conflicting reports about various details in the case. So If you already know this story and you hear me say something a little different from the version you heard, that's why.
Okay.
And one more thing, there will definitely be gore and violence ahead, so
Cute.
heads up, I guess.
Cute.
Let's get started.
Okay, let's dive in.
All right, so let's start off with a little background info. Our story takes place during the 1800s in Kansas, which back in the day wasn't exactly the safest place to be for white settlers. Before the Civil War, there was so many battles and fights over slavery that the territory earned the nickname Bleeding Kansas. People from both sides were being killed on the regular, and this would obviously be a foreshadowing of the Civil War yet to come.
Yep.
There were also obviously clashes with the understandably pissed off Native Americans who lived in the area that were being forced off their lands.
Terrible things.
Yep, everything's bad. During the Civil War, Kansas would side with the Union to fight against the Confederacy, and as we all know, the North won and the South lost.
People need to be reminded of that.
I was just about to say, well, maybe not as we all know or remember. Most of us understand that the North won and the South lost, and
Stop flying your flags. Stop it.
Stop it with that Confederate flag. It's weird.
Get over it.
It's been so
It's
long.
not chill.
Because you know when the war ended? In May of 1865.
Wow. We're still having issues.
Quite a time ago. Soon after the war ended, okay, so I've heard two pronunciations of this. There's Osage and Osage.
Ooh, Osage is fancy.
I like Osage, but I've heard Osage more. So I guess I'll say Osage. Native Americans. So they would sign a treaty with the U.S. government conceding a large amount of their land and home in Labette County, Kansas. Yeah. The Native Americans were then moved to a, quote, new territory, which would later become the state of Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
Yeah. This move opened up the floodgates for white settlers to come to Kansas and the lands beyond. And thanks to the Homestead Act of 1862, doesn't that just bring you back to like fucking middle school? Like all this colonial, the Homestead Act of 1862.
Oh yeah, learning about all that stuff.
Yeah.
Totally.
So thanks to that, white folks had a good reason to settle there. Abraham Lincoln signed off on the Homestead Act, which granted any U.S. citizen, including freed slaves, the right to claim and settle up to 160 acres of public land, provided they live on the land for at least 5 years and cultivate it, and also pay a small filing fee.
Interesting.
Pretty sweet deal.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a lot of land and even more work. But people they were into it. So in October of 1870, in the southeastern corner of Kansas lay the small town of Cherryvale, and a ways down the road was a trading post owned by Rudolf Brockman and August Earn. Brockman watched as two men in a horse-drawn wagon stopped in front of his business. One of them was a younger man in his 20s, who was described as having a pleasant face and a trim mustache with light skin. He spoke fairly fluent English, with what many would say was a German accent, and was prone to breaking out in aimless laughter, leading many to label him as a, quote, simpleton. So he'd just start giggling for no reason, I guess. Yeah, like that.
Yeah, there you go.
The origins of the Benders seem to be disputed in certain sources, but the most common one was Germany. So we're going to go with German. Okay. That happens a lot in the story. Like certain details are debated, which is just the risk you take when you're doing historical cases.
Yeah, something so long ago.
Yeah. The younger man's name was John Bender Jr., and the large, surly-looking older man who was with him was named John Bender Sr., but everyone called him Old Man Bender.
Old Man Bender.
Isn't that fun?
It's hard for me to not picture Bender from Futurama.
I know.
Especially since I watched a bunch of Futurama before I got here.
He'd probably be in on this with them.
Oh, for sure.
I think. Yes, Old Man Bender, easy to remember.
Okay, not robots. I'm thinking of old colonial robots.
Old colonial robots.
They're wearing suits, but they're robots.
Oh my god,
that's so stupid.
A little straw hanging out of their mouth.
So funny. Okay.
Unlike John Jr., John Sr. barely spoke any English other than a handful of curse words. which he spat out with a low, gravelly voice.
Those are the important ones to know.
That's what it said. Like, what else do you need?
I mean, what other word is more satisfying than the word fuck?
Right?
Tell me.
You just got to know fuck, shit. Damn is a pretty good one as well. Damn is like a PG-13 curse word.
Exactly.
Those are good ones. So, yeah, he just knows some curse words. He was described as a man in his 60s with a hulking, burly frame and a big old beard. Although in other sources, I saw he didn't have a beard. So there's that.
Very important detail. I bet he did have a beard.
I would imagine.
didn't?
Everyone, right? They all had beards. And he just always had an ever-present resting bitch face. It's always pissed off looking.
I can relate.
Yeah, sounds like a delight. You guys would probably be like super close.
No.
No. As to the relation of the two men, this has also been disputed. Some say that they were father-son or stepson. Others said John Jr. was his son-in-law. And some say they weren't related at all.
But the same name, Junior, it's usually son, right? I mean, that's what you think of.
Yeah, unless they're making up their name.
Interesting. Okay.
Which is another theory.
Okay.
Details are, I'm telling you, all over the place.
Okay. Got it.
So, but the important thing is that they were together.
They hung out. They were buds.
Yes, they're together. So the Bender men introduced themselves to Rudolf Brockman and asked him if they could camp out on his land until they were able to find a good plot of land to claim. Brockman was like, sure thing, chicken wing. And with that, the Bender men began looking for their chunk of Kansas. For what the Benders had in mind, they wanted a plot of land that saw a high amount of traffic from travelers. So they picked a spot right off the Osage Trail. The Osage Trail was the main road in that area connecting Fort Scott to Independence. And if you remember our Donner Party episodes from way back in the day, Independence was one of the main jumping off points for the California and Oregon Trail. Mm-hmm. So you got a lot of people passing through. Mm-hmm. Any ideas for what the Benders had in mind for their land?
No.
Don't know what they're looking to do yet? They wanted to build an inn. But not just any inn. They also wanted it to be like a supply store. And they also wanted to live in it. So like a little hotel.
Okay.
Bed breakfast. Only a really shitty one.
Sure.
With the closest neighbors being miles away, they decided it was the perfect location for what they had in mind. Mm-hmm. The Bender boys laid their claim and started building. For an inn/supply store/home, you would think that they would construct kind of a large building to house all of those things. Mm-hmm. Like maybe even a 2-story.
It's not even 2-story?
No. Oh. It's not even close. They constructed a small to medium small rectangle.
Small to medium small.
Rectangle. No dividing walls, just one big room. It was 16 by 24 feet in dimension. I forgot, I was going to measure this room to give you like kind of an idea, but it would maybe be 2 of these rooms.
And they want it to be 3 different things.
Yes.
That's okay.
Yeah, so it's not big. And they also dug a shallow cellar beneath it to a depth of 7 feet. The Benders purchased a 7-foot square, 3-inch thick slab of sandstone from a nearby quarry to use as the floor of the cellar. So they've got like their house on land, and then they dug below that.
Yeah.
Put a slab down there.
Sure.
To get down to the cellar, a square trap door was cut into the wooden plank floor with a leather bootstrap nailed to it to function as a handle.
Okay.
It's charming touches.
It's creepy a little bit.
It's very
going towards that direction.
Right.
Wonder what they're going to put in there. Scared.
Great things, I'm sure. It's going to be great. The Bender boys also got busy and built a rough stable, storage shed, pens, a corral for livestock, and they also dug a well. John Jr. did his best to put his finishing touch on the place by painting a sign that said, had the letters GROCRY, and he slapped that on the front door. So he's trying to say grocery, but you put grow cry.
Grow cry.
Grow cry.
That's sad.
Just almost foreshadowing.
Oh.
But he just couldn't spell, I think. So he slapped that on the front door. Now that the building was finished, the Bender boys decided to send for the Bender broads. The ladies.
Oh my gosh, where are the ladies at?
Bender ladies. enter the Bender women. There were 2 of them, and they arrived by train in early 1871. The elder of the 2 was Elvira Bender, but most people called her Ma Bender.
Ma.
Yeah, okay. Ma and Pa Bender.
Okay.
And some of them also called her the Old Hag and She-Devil.
Okay, that's not cute.
She is popular around town.
That's not the nickname you want.
The Old Hag. Oh my God.
No.
Rude. Ma Bender was in her 50s and was every bit as mean and pissed off as Pa Bender.
Oh no.
I would guess that they were married, but as I said, the relationships between the Benders is all speculated on. Ma Bender had pasty white skin and a constant scowl on her face, and she was not liked by her neighbors.
No.
And much like Pa Bender, she spoke little to no English. Traveling with her was 23-year-old Kate Bender, who is believed to be Ma Bender's daughter, possibly from a different marriage.
Makes sense.
Kate Bender is considered by many to be the star of the Bender family and the main talent behind their future success.
I mean, the young lady, of course.
Her name's Kate. Like, she just sounds...
She has a name.
Yeah, Kate Bender. She spoke fluent English with just the slightest accent.
There you go.
And she's considered by many to be beautiful, although some sources also disagree on that. They disagree on everything in this story. So allow me to read you 2 of the conflicting eyewitness descriptions of Kate Bender in Little Slaughterhouse on the Prairie. Quote, her hair was dark, rich auburn. She had deep grayish blue or dark gray eyes. She was over medium height, some 5'6" or 7 inches tall, slender, well formed, voluptuous mold, fair skin, white as milk, rose complexion. She was good looking, a remarkably handsome woman, rather bold and striking in appearance, with a tigerish grace and animal attraction.
Wow, that is quite the description.
Which but few men could resist.
Oof.
I was like, damn, Kate sounds hot.
She sounds very hot.
Until you hear this next needlessly horrible description.
What else did people call her?
Quote, her face wasn't so bad featured, but her hair was long and seldom combed. She had a wild look that was scary. I don't think she ever took a bath, and there were creases in her neck filled with dirt.
Ooh.
She had, dear God, she had the body of a cow.
No.
So rude. As for sex attraction,
no,
she would have had to pay the most forlorn cowboy who hadn't seen a woman in a year to get near her.
That is cold.
So
that
brutal.
Is harsh.
So brutal back in the day.
Fucking rude.
God.
I mean, even so, don't be so fucking rude.
The body of a cow. Okay, that's rude. And I like cows. Okay, I think they're adorable.
Cows are freaking cute. We should stop eating them, but they're so good.
Stop being mean to cows.
We should treat them with respect.
So, yeah. So, a couple, like, conflicting descriptions.
Totally 2 different things.
So, maybe she's hot, maybe she's not. But from what a lot of people said, she's like a charmer. She's good with words. So while Kate is believed to be the daughter of Ma Bender, there are also sources who say John Bender Jr. is also Ma Bender's son, possibly from a previous marriage. If this is true, that would make Kate and John Jr. siblings, and the pair were rumored to be in a sexual relationship together.
I mean, I knew incest was going to happen.
Yeah.
What else was going on?
It's like, right.
Especially in a murderous family.
I know.
Ugh.
But to be fair, they were also said to be married, not siblings, so they're either banging as siblings or banging as married people.
Either way, they're banging.
They're banging. I hope there's not incest on top of everything else, but it is starting to feel more like a Hills Have Eyes
total
situation. Another rumor going around about Kate was that she was a witch who had sold her soul to the devil.
Oh, how dare you.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe she did, because Kate was definitely interested in the occult. She was a self-proclaimed spiritualist who identified herself as Professor Miss Katie Bender.
Nice. That's the title.
I love that she calls herself a professor.
Right.
I think that's hilarious.
Where's your degree?
She did not have the receipts to back that up. Professor Katie's services included seances, fortune-telling, lectures on spiritualism. She sold love and good luck charms, and on a flyer that she had made and spread around town was another list of her extensive services, which included curing blindness, deafness, seizures, and many other illnesses.
I mean, those are big claims.
It's quite the list. Can cure blindness? Wow. So when Ma Bender and Katie arrived at their new home/inn/supply store, they added a few feminine touches to the place by taking the canvas cover off of their wagon and hanging it up in the center of the room to divide it into 2 sections.
They were like, this is too small. If you want 3 different things, we need some division here.
Yes, we need a wall. On one side of the canvas wall was the grocery part of the business. There was like a roughly constructed counter, a few shelves with provisions like canned goods, preserves, coffee, tobacco, that kind of stuff.
Makes sense.
On the other side of the canvas partition was the living quarters, kitchen, and dining room, which consisted of a straw pallet to sleep on, a stove, and a table with 2 benches. And one of the benches was backed right up against the canvas partition. Katie repainted the sign to read groceries, and voila.
She's like, you spelt it wrong, you stupid idiot.
She's like, you stupid husband brother.
husband brother.
You can't do anything right. So gross. And just like that, their business was open to the public. But the Benders didn't exactly get glowing 5-star reviews from their customers.
No good Yelp reviews?
Not a one. Many people were unsettled by the scowls and threatening behavior of Ma and Pa Bender.
They're not very the most approachable looking people.
Just, like, scowling in a corner.
They're just mad at everyone already.
They just say shit and fuck a lot. So yeah, people were unsettled by those 2 scary twins, and several witnesses remarked on the filthiness of the establishment, and on some occasions, the terrible odor coming from the cellar.
Yikes.
Yep. The people stopped looking. Sorry, I can't read.
A brain fart?
Yep.
That's okay.
Here we go. The people stopping for a quick night of rest on a straw bed were weary travelers who had been on the road for days. They were simply grateful for a roof and a hot meal. But sadly, some of them wouldn't remain grateful for long. But before we talk about them, let's take a quick break.
All right.
Oh, welcome back. Hi.
Hi.
Hello. Okay, so shortly after arriving, Kate got herself a job as a waitress in the nearby Cherryville Hotel, where she met another woman familiar with the paranormal named Julie Hassler. A quick fun fact, apparently 5 spiritualist families moved into the area at this time, so there's just like all kinds of fun people running around.
I mean, definitely popular in those days.
Not in this area, though. It's this is like Kansas.
Okay.
So like most of the people here don't even know what the fuck that is.
Okay.
So they were weirdly kind of okay with it because they didn't know what it was. But I have a feeling if they knew more about it, they probably wouldn't have
They'd
been
be more
as chill.
sketch. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, a bunch of spiritualists running around. All kinds of fun. Julie claimed to be a clairvoyant, and she and Kate decided they wanted to perform a seance at Kate's home. Lit only by candlelight, the 2 women sat at the table opposite each other, with Julie sitting on the bench with her back to the partition. She would later remark on the filthiness of the place and the foul stench she couldn't quite place. The women clasped hands and closed their eyes. They began calling out, trying to summon spirits, as large black flies buzzed around the small room.
Ew.
Yeah, so hills have eyes. Like,
Oh, no.
or like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I don't know. It's just like dusty,
Dirty.
like, yeah, prairie.
Would you ever do a seance? Like an actual one?
I don't know.
I think
I'd be
I kind of want
scared.
to.
Oh, I'd be scared.
I think I kind of would do it.
I maybe if there was someone who knew what they were doing, but I don't know what I'm doing.
I mean, yeah, I don't know anybody.
I would
I'm not
attach
gonna pay
something to
anybody.
me.
Right.
More than there already is. Okay, yes. In the middle of the seance in the smelly room. Julie said she suddenly felt this feeling of overwhelming terror, and she snapped her eyes open to see the other 3 benders creeping quietly into the room with an odd look in their eye and Pa Bender had an axe in his hand.
No, axe killings, no.
Julie quickly blurted out that she had to use the restroom, and she ran home.
And she's like, I'm out, bye.
Yeah, she said she tossed her skirts, like, because this is back when everyone's wearing long fucking skirts.
Like 12 skirts.
Yeah, and she just, like, tossed them over her shoulder and just started running as fast as she could.
I would too, holy shit.
Yeah. And she said that she could hear the Benders shooting a gun off and, like, yelling after her. But they stopped chasing her eventually. And then she and her husband later just, like, moved out of the area.
Bye. Like, out of town.
Yeah, like, not chill neighbors. We gotta go.
No, creepy.
And those are the kind of things that kind of remind me of Belle Gunnis. Like, how she would, like, lure people into this sense of security in her home before she attacked them.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of eerily similar.
Oh, I don't like that.
About a month after Julie's weird encounter, two boys walking home would discover the decomposing corpse of a man, half buried in the mud near Drum Creek. His skull had been crushed and his throat slashed from ear to ear.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. No. He was later identified as a stonemason named William Jones, who had been traveling to Independence a few weeks prior when he went missing. Jones had plans to stake a land claim and had been carrying a large sum of money, which was, of course, missing.
Of course.
There were no clues as to who the killer was, except for wagon wheel tracks leading away from the area the body was found. About 8 months later, in January of 1872, during a blizzard, the Benders' neighbors who lived 4 miles away, named Mr. and Mrs. Leroy Dick,
Oh, no.
witnessed the two Bender men struggling to get their wagon through the foot-high snow. They were traveling in the direction away from their home into the open prairie fields, which the Dicks thought was pretty weird. Mm-hmm. Like, what are they going to go do out there?
Yeah, where are you going after?
Mm-hmm. But eventually they just shrugged it off and forgot about it until about a month later when the snow thawed. Out in the field where the Benders had been traveling towards, two corpses were found where they had apparently been dumped. They both had the same cause of death as William Jones. Their skulls had been crushed and their throats slit from ear to ear.
They have an MO.
Yep. Labette County, Kansas was beginning to gain quite the reputation as a dangerous place for travelers, as many more people went missing. The majority of those who went missing were men traveling alone, some of them with large sums of money, although that wasn't always the case. There was William F. McCrotty, who was on his way back home from Independence and was thought to be carrying $2,600 on him. Johnny Boyle, an older single man on his way to buy some land, disappeared and was reportedly carrying $1,900. John Greery, another man traveling on his own, had $2,000 on him. Benjamin Brown reportedly only had $50 on him, but was traveling with a pretty spiffy wagon and a couple of nice horses when he went missing. Other unlucky souls who went missing didn't have a penny to their name, including Alonzo Sconce and Jack Bowley, who were simply laborers on their way home. Another man named Henry Mackenzie was last seen leaving the house of an old friend who had just loaned him 40 cents.
Oh,
how sad.
That's so little.
I know. He went missing with 40 cents. And are you ready to be more sad?
Yeah.
In late February of 1973, a man named George Longcore was traveling with his infant daughter from Kansas to his parents' home in Iowa. Sadly, his wife had passed away during childbirth.
No, because
not to trigger you. And George wanted to go back to Iowa to be with his family.
Of course.
He was traveling in a wagon he had purchased from his friend and physician, Dr. William York, when he disappeared. The last person to see George and his daughter alive was a widowed woman who saw them struggling through the snow in a blizzard and offered them shelter in her home. She saw that the baby was not dressed for the weather and gave George her children's old baby clothes.
Aw, I would hate to live in those times.
Yeah. God, everything sucked so hard.
10 times harder.
After the weather improved, the pair went on their way, never to be heard from again.
Oh, just a little baby daughter.
I know. But the wagon and horses they traveled with, sold to them by Dr. York, were found abandoned near Fort Scott. The horses were half-starved but still alive, And as fate would have it, Dr. York himself would discover the wagon and horses after he left his home near Independence to visit his brother, who was a colonel, a lawyer, and a state senator
Whoa.
named Alexander M. York. And he lived at Fort Scott. A doctor and a colonel, lawyer, senator in the family. Their
Parents
mom
must be proud.
Yeah, must be so proud. So the doctor hears stories of this abandoned wagon and horse team in the nearby woods, and he's curious. So he goes and investigates and sees the same horses and wagon he had just sold to George Longcore only a few weeks prior.
Wow, what are the odds? Like,
Right?
it's your own stuff. That's crazy.
Dr. York was like, well, that's weird and unsettling. And then continues on to his brother's house where he stays until March.
Oh, okay. Roscoe, chill.
Oh, yeah, we got Roscoe. There is a bear in the room.
It's a little scary. I was thinking, what the hell? Okay.
Puppo. Okay. So, so he stays with his brother until March 9th. He departed on a horse and was apparently flush with cash, carrying as much as $900. Okay, doctor. Money bags. He was witnessed by a couple of different farmers along his journey who gave him directions and whatnot as far as the town of Parsons. In Parsons, he spoke to a shopkeeper while purchasing cigars and said that he planned to spend the night at the Bender Inn. This is Dr. York.
Okay. Oh, no, don't go there.
Yep. And as you can probably guess, the good doctor was never seen alive again. No. But unlike the others, Dr. York had family in high places who wouldn't sit idly by and wait for answers about the sudden disappearance. I mean, do I need to list this guy's credentials? He was a Civil War veteran, a colonel, a lawyer, and a senator.
Wow.
And he's about to get shit done.
Yeah, he is.
He rounded up a search party of any amount of men from 12 in some places and all the way up to 50 in other sources.
In ages?
Amount.
Or in the amount? I was like 12-year-old boys. Okay.
He had a child army. No, so anywhere from 12 to 50 men. And they set out on the trail that his brother had taken. Also among the search party was a third York brother named Ed. But I couldn't find any more details on Ed, so I guess he was the disappointing
Problem
brother.
child. He mooched off everyone else.
He's just riding his brother's coattails. Poor Ed. Colonel York and the search party questioned anyone that they met on the trail and stopped at homesteads to question the inhabitants. And within a couple days, they had traced Dr. York's last whereabouts near the area of the Bender Inn. Finally, right? Mm-hmm. So, the posse rides up to the Bender Inn on March 28th, and John Jr. is sitting out front reading a German Bible. Just a real page turner. Colonel York is like, hey, you with the Bible, have you seen my brother around? And he kind of looks like me. He's like white and very successful. And if he was less successful, he would look like my brother Ed over here.
A little bit more scruffy, not put together.
Just playing Ed, poor Ed. And John Jr. was like, I feel like maybe I did see him like a week ago. I think he bought some supplies and, he got water for his horse. And then he just, he rode away. Mm-hmm. After the colonel told him that the doctor had never returned home, John Jr. was like, well, he probably got murdered by the band of outlaws that hang out by Drum Creek.
Okay.
Yeah.
Outing them out immediately.
Well, he's not talking about his family. He's talking about like this random band of outlaws.
Oh, I see. Okay, now that makes sense.
He's like, no, just this other criminals
thing.
that hang out by this creek. Mm-hmm. He's like, they shot at me before, so that's how I know they're there. And the colonel thought this was utter bullshit and asked John Jr. if he wouldn't mind taking them to the spot that he had been shot at before. Mm-hmm. John Jr. was like, I guess, and he takes them out there, but the men found no murderous outlaws. Shocking. So John Jr. takes them back to the inn where they are greeted at the door by Kate Bender. Some reports say that Colonel York had been told of Kate's supposed abilities she advertised around town, and he was like, Kate, can you please give your spirit friends a ring and ask them if they know where my brother is?
Right. You should be able to do that.
That's her credential, right? She's got fucking flyers. She's like, yes, 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 and immediately went into a trance.
Oh.
But when she left her trance state, she regretfully informed Colonel York that the spirits were reluctant to help her because there was too many unbelievers in the room.
Convenient.
They're killing the vibe.
They're killing the vibe.
But Kate told York that if he came back tomorrow alone, she would definitely, for sure, locate his missing brother, even if he was in hell.
Oh, no.
Very dramatic.
That is very dramatic.
York was like, I'll take a rain check, and he and his men left. Soon after this, in early April, an emergency town hall meeting was held at the local schoolhouse to discuss the now 11 missing people in Labette County.
Dang.
75 people attended, including the 2 Bender boys.
Of course they would. They want to hear what everyone's saying.
Yep. The townsfolk decided that the only way they could be sure that none of them were the killers was if a thorough search was conducted of everyone's homes and properties.
True that.
And you could just imagine everyone like fervently agreeing while the Benders pretend to agree, and then just out of the side of their mouth, they're like, let's get the hell out of here.
Oh my God, we got some cleaning to do.
And then they did get the hell out of there. 3 days after the town meeting, a neighbor of the Benders named Billy Toll was driving cattle past the Bender property when he saw livestock wandering aimlessly about, and not a Bender to be found. Some of the animals looked as though they hadn't been fed in a while, and when the neighbor checked the inn, he found it to be deserted, and the Bender's wagon was missing. I saw in one source that the wagon was eventually found abandoned about 10 miles away with a broken wheel and a rough board with the letters GROCRY painted on it. Grocry, also found in the bottom of the wagon. So after Billy Toll discovers the abandoned Bender Inn, he alerts good old Leroy Dick, who was the town trustee, and Leroy tells Colonel York. Unfortunately, the search party was delayed a few days due to bad weather, but they did round up a bunch of men to form a search party. And when the conditions improved, the group descended on the Bender property Monday, May 5th, 1873. When they entered the home, they found all of the furniture in order, and there were even still supplies stocked on the shelves. Although I did see in other sources that there was no supplies.
Could be this or the exact opposite.
Yeah, it could be that, or exactly, as you said, the exact opposite, where there was nothing left and all the personal items were gone, except for a few random things scattered about the floor. But these items at least seemed to be agreed upon, and this is what was left behind. 3 hammers of different sizes and types, a German Bible with notations written in pencil, scribbled inside, which were the names and dates of the births and deaths of family members, and also more recent dates were written down with the words Slog Day, or it's like Slag Day, it's SLAGH Day, written next to them. Many would later speculate that this may have stood for Slaughter Day.
They called it a day. Okay.
They called it a day. They made a day of it.
Yeah, they made a day of it.
Yeah. As the men searched the small room, they couldn't ignore the terrible stench filling the air around them. As York looked about the room, he saw the trap door in the floor located just behind the soiled and stained canvas sheet that bisected the room, and noted the smell seemed to be coming from below. As he pulled it open by the leather strap, the worst smell imaginable wafted up to greet the men who all ran outside to escape the stench.
Oh, I can't even imagine. It is the worst stench, probably.
Never smelled it in my life,
Never
but
want to.
I don't want to. That's for sure.
Nasty.
Seems terrible. When they recovered, the men worked to pry up the floorboards and discovered the stone slab used for the cellar floor below was coated in sticky, coagulated blood.
Oh, I don't like that word either.
Coagulated?
Yeah, just gross for blood.
York ordered the stone slab be broken up, and after it was removed, the search party found the dirt beneath it to be completely saturated in blood and gore, which was the source of the foul stench. I mean, it's also like, maybe it's, I don't know if it's hot, but
either way.
It would just smell, and the flies, it's so gross.
Oh, no.
York was determined to find the bodies, though, because they hadn't found any yet.
It's all just blood and stench.
Just blood. He's like, it has to be human blood.
For sure.
So in his mind. So he climbed up to a higher vantage point and surveyed the Bender property. In an orchard the Benders had planted, York spotted some freshly disturbed soil that seemed oddly grave-shaped. Mm-hmm. York and his men rushed to the spot and probed the dirt with an iron rod. When they removed the rod from the earth, it came back up with a clump of human hair stuck to it.
So gross.
Yeah. Digging started, and the corpse was quickly uncovered with the feet already almost sticking out of the earth. It was the body of a male who had been stripped of most clothing and had been buried face down. His skull had been bashed in 2 places, as though with a hammer, and his throat had been brutally slashed from ear to ear.
All the same stuff. Okay.
The neck wound was so deep that when they lifted the corpse, the head just fell off.
No. Ugh. Okay. Yikes.
After viewing the face of the decomposing body, Colonel York immediately knew it was the body of his own brother.
Oh, can you imagine? That is so sad.
And that's like the same thing with the Belle Gunnis story, because it was like a guy who's, I think his family member went missing, maybe even his brother, and he went searching, and he was the one who kind of like, made Belle, well, if she escaped,
Right,
but
right.
he also went searching and found his own family member. So it's like weirdly similar.
It is, yeah. That's
But
crazy.
can you imagine like how sad?
Oh, what a bummer.
After the discovery of the body, the men in the search party were understandably upset and thirsty for revenge. Unfortunately, Rudolf Brockman, one of the men who let the Benders stay on their property when the Bender boys had just arrived looking for land, he was in the search party. The other men turned on him, thinking he must have been in cahoots with the Benders, and they started questioning him. When Brockman denied any involvement, the men began to torture him by hanging him with a rope until he would almost die, and then they would stop.
Oh, that's intense.
And they did that several times. But Brockman's answer never changed. And up to that point, he had a pretty excellent reputation in the community, so he was eventually let go.
Okay, that's good.
Evidently, though, Brockman would actually turn out to be a piece of shit.
Oh, no, okay.
When he was found guilty of the torture, murder, and rape of his own 16-year-old daughter 23 years later.
23? No. Ugh, I take it back.
Yeah, he's actually a terrible person.
That's not okay.
Terrible. Other men in the community were threatened and questioned using the same tactics, but nobody confessed to having anything to do with the Benders or the dead body. The next day, an extensive search was conducted around the orchard where Dr. York's body had been found, and the men uncovered 8 more bodies, as well as a corpse in the well and various dismembered body parts found in another grave.
Gross.
7 were men who had all been killed in the same way as the others and were also nearly stripped naked. Some reports indicated that a few of the men had also disturbingly been castrated.
Oh, okay. I had a feeling you might go there.
God, why? Like,
Humans
why?
are fucked up. Like, why do you want to do such fucked up things to another human? I just don't understand why there's that urge to be so disturbingly gross.
Yeah, because there's no reason other than just to be awful.
Yeah.
Awful. But the most disturbing detail, and this is messed up and sad.
Oh, we didn't reach the... Okay, here's another one. All right.
Here it is. George Longcore's corpse was discovered alongside his infant daughters.
Oh.
She was fully clothed and appeared to have no wounds or marks on her person, which led the coroner to indicate that she had been buried alive.
Oh, poor baby.
She also may have... I mean, she could have also just been suffocated, but either way, it's just...
Or like succumb to the environment. I don't know.
But burying someone alive, like a
Especially
child, what
baby,
the fuck?
that's so gross.
Oh, I hope that's.
How do you live with
it's
yourself?
terrible. Oh, I hate it. I hate it. Let's see. Oh, and so okay. So much like the Belle Gunnis tale, as news spread of the bodies being discovered at the old Bender Inn, townspeople and reporters began to flock to the area in droves. We're not talking secure crime scenes back in the day.
Oh, no way.
As many as 1,000 men, women, and children per day. Everyone wanted to see the bodies, and souvenir seekers began prying away bits of the home, board by board, stone by stone. The bolder of the souvenir seekers actually snipped locks of the corpse's hair to take home with them.
Okay, no.
With one woman reportedly snipping off locks of the baby girl's hair
No.
to make a commemorative wreath.
People are fucked
What
up.
the fuck?
Why are you...
What?
I mean, I know.
A commemorative wreath?
I mean, I can understand maybe like a piece of the building, which is still weird.
Yeah,
But fucking the actual... No, not
feel
the
like
actual people.
in the Bell Gunness, I feel like people were trying to take off like toes and stuff. Like people were fucking weird.
Gosh, life was boring back then,
Yeah,
apparently.
I guess.
Like, Jesus.
That's pretty bad. Yeah, so it's pretty insane to think crime scenes just like were not secured at all.
Just thousands of people taking it apart for souvenirs.
Literally taking this home apart.
What do you do with it? You just like, hey, I have a toe from this murder
I
thing.
know. Do you frame it? Like, what are you doing with it?
God.
By the end of the chaos, the only thing that remained of the Bender Inn were the holes in the ground from whence the bodies came.
Wow.
They took the entire
Everything.
structure,
That's insane.
piece by piece. It was all gone.
I mean, I believe it.
The supports, the stones, all of it.
Any
it's just
piece of it.
so
Wow.
crazy to me. A whole building.
Jesus.
Now, obviously, this was a nationwide media sensation. The term serial killers didn't even exist yet, and Kansas was dealing with a whole family of them.
Right.
Wild theories were splashed across the front pages of Kansas publications, and the Bender Inn was called everything from the Devil's Kitchen to the roadside death trap.
Oh, God.
The Benders themselves were accused of satanic rituals and worship and were called the Kansas Hyenas.
Oh, okay. Catchy.
Fun. Americans were horrified and fascinated by the story. After learning that the Benders killed not only the travelers who carried large sums of money, but also men who were broke and destitute. Mm-hmm. People began to speculate that the Benders killed not only for financial gain, but also for pleasure.
For sure.
As to the method of how they dispatched their victims, we can only speculate, but I'll tell you the most popular theories, followed by some close calls by other travelers who made it out with their lives.
Wow, lucky. Okay.
Right after this break.
Okay.
Welcome back. Okay, so I'm going to tell you how people think this whole murder thing went down.
The theories.
The theories, the way they did it.
Okay.
So a single weary traveler would make their way to the Bender Inn for a hot meal and a roof to sleep under. Once inside, the flirtatious and vivacious Kate would engage the traveler in conversation at the table while they ate their meal. The guest was always given the seat with their back set against that nasty, stained canvas partition. Mm-hmm. But while they were distracted by Kate, most likely John Jr. or Pa Bender would sneak up behind the guest with a heavy hammer clutched in their hand. Remember those 3 hammers they found?
Oh, yeah.
So, and they would be hidden by the canvas sheet, so they're standing on the other side.
Oh.
While the unsuspecting guest leaned back against the canvas,
Right.
the man with the hammer would land a crushing blow to the guest's skull.
Yikes.
The next part has been disputed, but the end results are the same. Either the victim would be robbed and stripped and then dumped through the cellar down to the floor to then have their throat slit by one of the women for good measure, or the victim would have their skull crushed by the hammer. They would be stripped and robbed. Then their throat would be slit with the victim bleeding out over the opened trap door so that the blood just spilled down onto that stone slab.
Gross. Okay.
And then into the dirt. Blech.
Gross.
The body would then be disposed of by the Bender men, either by burying them in the orchard or dumping them in the nearby creek or field. The twisted Bender family operated their killing venture from 1871 to 1873. And much like everything else in this story, their kill count is contested. But many sources put the confirmed murders at 10 to 11, with estimates as high as 20 for their total victims.
Damn.
And as I said before, There were plenty of people with near-death experiences who crawled out of the woodwork to tell their stories.
Right.
Of course, there's no way to fact-check these people. I'm sure some of them were making things up for attention.
Sure.
And a good story, but I'll tell you a couple of them because they're super creepy.
Okay.
A man named William Pickering found himself at the Bender Inn and was invited to sit at the table for a meal. Pickering took one look at that nasty stained canvas cloth he was supposed to sit in front of and declined the offer. Kate then apparently threatened him with a knife, and Pickering ran away with his life.
Oh, wow. Okay.
A Catholic priest named Father Paul Pronziglione. I practiced this earlier. Pronziglione. Yes, Pronziglione.
Wow, that's a name.
Right? It sounds very Italian.
It does.
Reportedly visited the inn and witnessed Pa Bender place a hammer behind the canvas curtain, and later saw him and Kate having a whispered conversation.
Sketch.
The father's feeling of unease grew so strong, he abruptly left the inn and escaped with his life.
Listen to your guts, people.
Yeah, seriously, in this case. Two men named Henry Weitzel and Henry Gordon visited the inn after one of them had painful swelling in his face, and he had heard of Kate's supposed healing abilities, so he went there for some help. Mm-hmm. After arriving, Kate offered to serve them dinner and had 2 chairs placed against the canvas partition. The 2 men noticed the Bender men had suddenly disappeared and chose to eat their dinner standing up at the counter. This clearly irritated Kate, who berated them for bad manners, as the 2 Bender men reappeared from the other side of the canvas. The 2 Henrys decided they would rather take their chances with the face swelling and piece the fuck out of there.
Good.
When the Benders were distracted by other travelers passing by the inn. Another man named Charles Hallett stopped at the inn for a meal, and while he was seated at the table, he saw movement from the corner of his eye. He quickly turned around and saw one of the Bender men approaching with a hammer clutched in his hand.
Oh my God.
Charles quickly drew his revolver and pointed it at Bender, who froze. This is like my favorite thing. He froze and then hilariously bent down to start hammering at a nail in the floor.
Oh, just... It's like when somebody falls and they start doing push-ups.
Yeah. He probably started whistling.
Smooth. Yeah, smooth.
So Bender then told Charles in an offended voice that he was just fixing a loose floorboard and he didn't appreciate Charles pointing a gun at him.
God.
And Charles was like, right. And then he got the fuck out of there.
Wow.
It was later reported that bullet holes were found in the walls and ceiling of the inn, so Charles wasn't the only traveler who had pulled a gun to defend himself, although the others may not have been so lucky to escape.
Yeah.
Countless other stories like these were told and printed in the newspapers as the fascinated Americans just couldn't get enough. Mm-hmm. Colonel York and the Kansas governor offered up a reward of $3,000 total for the capture of the Benders, which spurred several vigilante posses, amateur sleuths, and private detectives to go on the hunt. Many of them probably injured and falsely accused innocent people of crimes they didn't commit while roaming the countryside, looking for the Benders, who had at least a full week ahead of them to make their getaway.
Yeah.
Before anyone had started looking for them. And much like the Belgunna story, the Benders were supposedly spotted several times in different areas by people, but not a single claim has ever been substantiated. No definitive proof has ever been offered up, and the reward has gone unclaimed all these years. Wow. It is now assumed that the Bender name was most likely fake, and however that group was really related to each other, it is believed that they came to Kansas with the murderous plan already hatched.
Interesting.
Some say that Kate and John Jr. escaped to an outlaw colony in Texas, which is fun, while the senior Benders took a train to Missouri. In 1884, an old man was imprisoned for murdering someone with a hammer blow to the skull in Montana. A message was sent to Kansas for someone to come have a look at the old man to see if it was Pa Bender. But before anyone could arrive, the old man cut off his own foot in an attempt to escape the leg irons chaining him to the jail. He quickly bled out and died of his injuries.
Oh my God.
And his corpse was too decomposed for identification by the time someone arrived from Kansas, making this just one more mystery to add to the story. Mm-hmm. There would be many claims and sightings over the years, with multiple vigilante groups taking credit for murdering the Bender family, including a story from Little Miss Laura Ingalls herself.
I see.
In one of her writings, she mentioned stopping at the Bender Inn with her family when she was a young girl, and she said she remembered her pa joining a posse to hunt down the Benders, and from her recollection, her pa would say darkly that they had taken care of the Benders and nobody would be hearing from them again.
Ooh.
However, Laura got fact-checked, and these claims could not have been true, as Laura would have only been 4 years old when her family moved away from the area, which was a full 2 years after the Benders Inn murders were discovered. So calm down, Laura. And that, my friends, is all I have for you on the Bloody Benders.
So they never were caught.
They were never caught. Just like fucking Belle Gunness.
Oh my gosh, you're right. That's so unsatisfying.
And I think, was she German? All these Germans, their damn efficiency.
Damn, you good at your talents. Whatever.
They're very efficient, and they apparently got away with it.
Wow.
Unless maybe they did get murdered, but there's like no...
Way of knowing.
Nope, there's no proof. Those pasty people are on a beach somewhere. Enjoying their spoils. And it's also weird because, like, if they were getting all that money, but they still lived in, like, the squalor, like...
Yeah, what were you doing with the money?
I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't know what their end game was. Like, how long
I
were you
think
going
they,
to do
like,
that?
mostly enjoyed it. I think they were fucked up.
You think just, like, to murder people?
I think that was their, like, hobby.
Ugh.
Gross.
And they just, like, got money out of it. It was, like, the bonus.
Yeah. Somehow got off on it. Ugh.
But you'd never heard of that one?
No, I never, never
Wow.
recognized it, never heard it. I don't know history. Are you kidding me?
Okay. But, I mean, like, I feel like this one's been done on a few podcasts, but...
Really? No, I haven't heard of it. Or at least I don't remember.
Yeah. Creepy family, man.
Wow, what a story. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Murderous family.
Murderous fiends.
Goody.
What? Should we do City of the Week?
Let's do it. And that goes to Ann Arbor. Am I saying that right? Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Hey, Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Michigan. Thanks for listening.
Thank
we
you for-
appreciate yous.
I think you might have... This might be your second time getting City of the Week, so congratulations.
Ann Arbor?
I think so.
Really? Maybe? Okay, I don't remember. But
Hey.
Hey, thank you.
Thanks. Thanks a lot.
Awesome.
What else? Are we listening to anything? We've been listening to the new Killers album, and we're liking it.
We're liking it a lot. There's some harmonicas, and I'm digging it. And
Shauna
it's great.
has always loved a harmonica.
I'm weak for it. It gets me weak in the knees, man.
Just weak for it.
I just love me some harmonicas.
I remember, like, in high school, you asked me, you were like, I just really want a harmonica. And I was like, that is adorable and so weird.
I wish I could play it. Yeah, I really was trying to find one so I could play it, but of course I don't play it. But, man, if that's in a sorrowy song, I am just melting for it.
A harmonica and an accordion. And a keytar. I'm going to find all the weirdest instruments.
But yeah, listen to, like, if you're a fan of the Killers, if millennials out there, we grew up with them, the band, the Killers, not the Killers.
A band.
The band, they're great. Yeah, I love this album. I love everything they do. I love this album. And I've been listening to that. There's lots of new music out there, so.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah. What about you? Anything with you? Or no?
I mean, no.
You're just boring?
Just floating around in the universe. Hey, I said I was listening to Killers too.
Yeah, that's true. We're both fans, so.
They're the same.
You get that too.
Yeah. All right.
Well, cool.
Well,
thank you so much for your episode.
and thank you for coming tonight. And
We had such a great evening.
congratulations on being pregnant. And
Thanks.
good up and good night.
Good up and good night.
Okay, guys, I got most of my information from Little Slaughterhouse on the Prairie by Harold Schechter, Wikipedia.com, CrimeReads.com, LegendsOfAmerica.com, HistoryNet.com, and our music is by Broke for Free and Matt Edwards, and we are edited by Michael.
All right. Should I list our social medias?
Please do?
We have a lot of our things at Anxious and Afraid the Pod. So that's our handle for both of our Facebook page and group, along with our Instagram and Gmail.
We have a Twitter at AA the Pod.
You can support us on patreon.com/anxious and afraid.
If you do that, you'll get some pretty nice perks. You get ad-free episodes that are released a whole day early, and you get a free sticker.
You can also support us for free if you can't do any of that by leaving a rate review. You subscribe to the show, tell your friends.
Yeah, we would appreciate all of it too right now.
Anxious and Afraid is partnered with the Oracle Network.
Talentless Talent. It's me, your host, Kylie Dills. Talentless Talent is a podcast about those with extraordinary talent. We're talking about conspiracy theories. We're talking to comedians. We're talking to painters. We are talking to those who make portraits. We're talking to dollhouse makers. We are talking to people about sports. We're talking to comedians. We're talking to sex workers. We're talking to models. We're talking to videographers. We have it all, including a very special pickle time. Talentless Talent is hosted by me, Kylie Dills, somebody who has no talent. So be sure to tune it in every Thursday. I'll catch you there, my Talentless Talent babes. We're having a good time.
Talentless Talent.
Talentless Talent?
It's Talentless Talent.
Talentless Talent with Kylie Dills.